and baloney, chicken and macaroni, chilling with my homies. Chicken wing, hot dog and baloney, chicken and macaroni, chilling with my homies.
The worst arm wrestler in the world here. Doing my little the other 98% podcast, and tonight we have Jesse Simko.
What's up?
On the line. What's up, man?
Nothing. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk arm wrestling. Anytime I get to talk arm wrestling is pretty fun. Usually the only time I get to do it is when people ask me what I do for fun, and I say, yeah, I like to arm wrestle.
Right.
They're like, wait, what? And then that's a whole, so
yeah.
Nice being able to talk arm wrestling with other arm wrestlers anytime I could.
It's cool because like people who arm wrestle, like we talk about it and it's no big deal. But people who don't arm wrestle, to them, it's kind of like an obscure thing to be doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't realize how awesome it is.
Yeah. I've been in the sport for a long time. I've only met so far one person recently at my job, a new hire at my job, is a fan. And he's not an arm wrestler. He's an actual fan. He watches the WAL. He knows all the big guys.
Yeah.
But just from a viewer standpoint, it's the first time I ever met an actual organic viewer of the sport.
That's pretty cool.
And I'm showing him pictures of me and Travis, me and Paul, and he's like, "Oh my God, you know these guys?" Like he's starstruck. We are too when we meet these guys for the first time. But it's very cool to see it from the outside perspective.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Viewer standpoint, yeah.
Is he gonna arm wrestle?
He's thinking about it. He might come to a practice or two. I'm sure I'll rope him in. We actually already broke up my table at the parking lot at work a couple times.
Nice.
So yeah, that's cool.
And what's your team?
Our local team here. I mean, PA has a lot of teams, so I'm thankful for that. I like having access to practices pretty much anywhere in the area.
Yeah.
But our local team is Nuclear Arms, Team Nuclear Arms, and it's been a rough team, a team technically since early '90s, possibly late '80s when my dad was kind of the one who started it originally. Yeah.
Now, how's that? I've always wanted to ask you, how is that like having your dad also arm wrestle? Is that cool?
Yeah, I'm not nearly as good as everyone thinks I should be. I started later than I should have with my history of my dad, but I'm happy about it. It's always a pro and a con. You know what I mean? I have the advantage of learning as much as I can from the source right there.
Yeah.
And then in the same sense, I also have this like shadow. You know what I
mean? I can see that. Yeah.
Well, that's Nitro's son. Watch out! Oh my gosh! And
right.
Like, no, hold on.
You're like, don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, calm down here.
That's funny.
Calm down. Yeah. So it definitely. I'm happy. To be who I am and related to be a Simko. But yeah. So everything has its ups and downs. But yeah, it's cool. It's nice when I meet all these new guys for the first time. Like, first time I ever met Travis Bajent, he's already known my dad for years and years and years. And he knew my dad before he was like a big guy. And like, so it's cool when I meet them. Yeah. They already, I'm Nitro's son. And they're like, oh my God. And they like, kind of like they bring me in very fast and, warm welcome. So that's always nice.
That's awesome, dude. Like, just have like your last name is just known in the sport, like anywhere you go. I mean,
sometimes good, sometimes bad, but
yeah, mostly good though.
Yeah,
you hear good things.
Yeah.
Plus, you guys ref and stuff, and not just arm wrestle.
Yeah, we do what we can. I mean, my dad's priority as well as my own now is always been number one, grow the sport. Yeah. Be an entertainer. Not only just go and try to win the matches, but try to make it flashy and fun and cool to watch for a viewer, for a spectator.
Absolutely.
My dad's nailed that pretty much on the head. He's he's a character. Yeah, he's a character. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So definitely. And I think that's a great thing. I think that's great. I Travis, he's got a character. If you don't have a character, nobody wants to watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the end, the way to grow the sport is to make people want to watch it first. Arm wrestlers will come and go, but the viewers are what's going to actually propel the sport.
Yeah. like nobody watches the guys that are like just real quiet and boring, and you want to see the guys that are making a spectacle of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that are animals that just they don't get a lot of screen time or computer internet time or whatever because they're not flashy or they're quiet. That's just how it is.
Yeah, it's entertainment. So how long have you been arm wrestling?
I started arm wrestling. I'm 30 years old now. I started arm wrestling when I was 19 or 20. I actually, me and my dad, my parents were divorced when I was 1 year old. So me and my dad, I always were kind of split a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Much like anybody with anybody's family have their own little issues and history,
right.
History and background. So I didn't do a lot as a teenager when I was getting old 13 on to 20 years old. I didn't really do a lot with my dad. I kind of like phased away once I, got old enough to start working and get my own apartment and stuff. So I actually went on a spur without talk. We barely talked for a few years, me and my dad. And, I actually met a friend when I was 20 or 19. I met a friend who said what I always really wanted to do was get into professional arm wrestling. And I was like, wow, you just told that to the right person because I didn't really know much about arm wrestling at the time. I knew my dad that's all he did.
Yeah.
I lifted weights occasionally, but I'm a big computer geek. So at the time I was 155 pounds, a little lightweight. And I was like, yeah, come with me. I know he has practices down here in Pittston every other Saturday, and we'll go check one out. And, I'll introduce you to my dad and you could have fun. So the whole way I got into arm wrestling wasn't because I was raised into it or it was into it. It was actually because a friend of mine happened to want to learn. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll go meet you, introduce you to my dad. And then
That's funny.
So the next Saturday came up and I drove him up to, we had a place called Diane's Deli here back in the day in Pittston. And I introduced him to my dad and I hung out and, I had some food and
your friend recruited you onto your own team.
Yeah. So, and some of the guys, some of the guys that are in the sport still may remember his name is Brandon Reichert. He's a good guy, great puller, great kid. And so he kind of pulled me in and I didn't realize it. And ever since that day, that first practice, I was there messing around on the table. I kind of got hooked. And that was, that was almost 10 years ago.
Wow. That's cool, man. Now, most new guys are always worried about like injuries and stuff. And you actually had an injury.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? And how did that make you feel like, oh man, did it make you second guess arm wrestling or?
No, make me second guess arm wrestling. No, I never wanted to stop arm wrestling. So what had happened was everyone goes through the pains and the soreness and, that happens to every amateur arm wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say is there's a fine line and you need to understand this as a novice or an amateur. You need to be able to, one, listen to your body and know the difference between sore and hurt.
Yeah.
Because if you want to push through the pain, that's awesome. There's a way to do that. But pushing through the pain when you're sore and pushing through the pain when you're hurt can sometimes lead to you being hurt more.
Right.
So what happened was I was overtraining for a competition. I was on a hot streak at the time. I was 24, 25. I think I was 24. And at the time I was in the sport for 4 or 5 years. And I had just come off a couple of tournaments, undefeated left-handed, undefeated right-handed in the 160-pound weight class because I was a lighter weight guy down back then, and I was getting all prepped up for nationals. And I was so pumped. I felt strong. I felt confident, and I overtrained between practicing and weight training to the point where my right arm it hurt. Like. It was not any kind of the sore pain I've ever felt. It hurt, something that didn't feel right. And we had one local tournament left before the nationals. And it was a local PA tournament here down in Pittston. I went to the tournament and I was actually back then, my training partners were Black Ice and Matt Powell. I don't know if you might not know Matt Powell. They're both been national champions.
Yeah.
And Brandon Reichert was the kid I introduced. There was our little hub of local guys. And, obviously Flash and my dad too.
Yeah.
But we got to the tournament nice and early. I gripped up with Brandon on the table right-handed just to feel how my arm felt because I knew something was still hurting me. And I couldn't even really close my hand without pain. And I was like, yeah, I can't arm wrestle today with this arm. So I entered left-handed and I did well, did good in the tournament. And at the end of the tournament, we always did a King of the Hill. So anyone who got a first place medal was in line for King of the Hill from heaviest to lightest.
Right.
So we got the two heavy guys up there. Now King of the Hill is only right-handed. I may or may not have decided to sneak in line because I got a first place left-handed. Yeah. So I got a first place. And even though King of the Hill is only right-handed, I mean, my thought process is, one match won't kill me. Oh. And it was, one match will kill me, and I wanted to pull. That's one thing about arm wrestlers is you never stop arm wrestling.
Right.
No matter how sore you are, you're like, all right, give me 5 minutes, and I'll come back to the table.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I got in line, and all the big guys are going at it. And one of the guys on the table was back in the day. You might know Jason D'Arienzo, JD.
Mm-hmm.
He used to pull all the time back then. And he was a great puller, big guy. Always been a big guy. Yeah, lumberjack build. He's up there smashing people. And the line's getting smaller and smaller. And I'm in the back because I'm a lightweight. I'm getting closer and closer. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to arm wrestle this guy. I thought he would have been done by now.
Right.
Going, it's like snarling, spitting, and everything like crazy, pumped up, smashing people. So I get up. It's my turn up to the table, and there he is. So it's 160-pound me.
Yeah.
And almost 300-pound lumberjack JD, who's I will say he's probably the nicest guy I've ever met. He's a great dude. I get up to the table, we get on there, and as you know, Ryan, I'm generally a hooker.
Yeah.
So the match starts, and I'm like, all right, let me just pray that I can catch this guy because I don't know if I'm gonna hit him. I was just kind of preparing. I was kind of like bracing myself. I wasn't even really ready. Match started. He slams me, almost just flashes me.
Yeah.
And I end up catching him right above the pin line, and I'm like holding. And I'm like, oh, okay, I feel pretty good because he hit me right into a hook. I'm like, oh, I feel pretty good here.
Right.
I didn't feel any pain or anything. I'm like, okay, I can hold him. I'm surprised that I stopped him and I'm holding him. Awesome. So I'm holding, and I'm watching him breathe, and waiting for my counter time. And finally, he lets up a little bit. So then I come in with my little adrenaline rush, screaming. I scream back and bring him back to the center of the table. And I was like, all right, this is going good now. I feel pretty good.
Right.
But one more of these little bursts, and I should be able to get him on my side. So I'm holding him. I feel him let up a little bit, and I go to counter to drive sideways, as I used to do, sideways pressured, like if you've heard Jacob Belleville warn all the new people to stay away from side pressure.
Yeah.
He wasn't wrong.
Right.
So as I drive, I felt him let up. So I went to drive. Well, when I thought he was letting up, he was getting ready to hit.
Oh.
So as I was driving sideways, he countered with more side pressure. Oh, and this motion, you guys know it's a break arm position right here.
Right. Yeah.
So that motion right there caused my tendon on either side of my humerus bone, connecting my humerus to my forearm here. Your humerus, when you do that motion, your humerus bone wants to spiral.
Yeah.
In its elbow socket, right? Mm-hmm. And those two tendons are there kind of stabilizing it. What had happened was one of the two things that would happen is a tendon would snap, right? And then you see the bicep roll up. Well, that's one of two. The second thing that could happen is the tendons literally just pull your bone apart, trying to keep it stable. So my elbow or my humerus split from the base of the humerus up my arm, up vertically. So then I apparently it was loud. I didn't hear anything. I was a little too in the moment.
Yeah.
But I remember looking down, my arm was on the table, like pinned, and I was like, I don't remember giving up or losing. That's weird. And I go to move my arm, and then I felt it, and I was like, oh shit. I leaned over, grabbed my arm, and I was more pissed than anything.
Yeah.
So No, it wasn't JD's fault. JD's an awesome guy. He's a great puller, nice dude. It's my fault. Everything it was 100% my fault. It was not referee's fault for not calling a break arm position because it happened so fast that you can't.
Yeah.
It was my own fault for knowing that I was hurt, not arm wrestling the entire day, and then trying to go against a 300-pound monster like JD.
Yeah.
Just out of the blue.
Right.
So it was my own fault that it happened, and I didn't listen to my body, and I couldn't not arm wrestle, so I paid the price, and it really messed me up. So I ended up with a titanium plate in my elbow. I don't know if you can see the scar right there. Yep, you can see it.
Oh yeah.
The titanium plate back here.
Yep.
About 17 screws in my arm. Because through the surgery, I got nerve damage, so I can't really feel the whole underside of my arm all the way up into my palm, and my ring finger, my pinky finger are pins and needles forever.
Wow.
Alongside with that came with the, awesome arthritis and amazing, when it's about to rain, I feel like I'm going to die. Just the basic pains that you get when you're old or when you have broken bones or.
Right.
And then I was told in post-op, I was told that I would never be. My main concern was, can I arm wrestle again? Will I be able to arm wrestle again?
Right.
I didn't give a shit about anything else because at the time, all I did was arm wrestle and lift weights,
Mm-hmm.
And my doctor at the time, who didn't understand what arm wrestling was or as a sport, and I tried to explain it to him, told me that I should never arm wrestle again with my hardware in. So I took that. And I was young. I never broke a bone in my life before, so I don't go to doctors often when I was a kid, when I was younger, even now still. But so I didn't know better to get a second opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, he's a fucking doctor, so he probably knows what he's talking about. So I kind of took that advice and got super, super depressed.
Yeah.
For a year. It took me about a year and a half to get back to function again, so I could lift weight.
Wow.
It took me a year of heat recovery and then physical therapy. My mobility, when I was done, my mobility was like literally this.
Wow.
Honestly, I probably should have kept it like that because I'd be a great arm wrestler now.
Yeah. Just don't rehab it and just keep it all stiff and weird.
Yeah, pull like a Michael Todd,
Yeah.
But I did physical therapy. I got 95% mobility back, which is nice. But even after my physical therapy and I got all my mobility back, my doctor, once he gave me the clear to go lift weights, I literally went to the gym like immediately, like right after I left the doctor's, and I went under, the bar on bench press, just to gauge. And as soon as I unracked it, my right arm was just shaking uncontrollably. I didn't feel weaker. It was just my arm couldn't hold it.
Yeah. For
whatever reason, any kind of pushing I couldn't do at all.
Gotcha.
So I went straight back to my doctors and I was like, what the fuck you do to me? You told me I could lift weights. I can't. My body's not working.
Yeah.
And he said,
that's scary.
Yeah, it was really scary. I was really scared. He's like, yeah, your body might just have to get used to the hardware.
Right.
And it took an extra 6 months after he told me I was cleared to lift where I could actually do a push-up without my arm buckling.
Wow.
So it took me a long time to recover. I was really upset. I went and did pulls. I could do rows. I could do curls and stuff. So I did that for the whole time while I was waiting for my arm to get back up to speed. But it was definitely tough. It was terrible. I definitely succumbed. I wish I had someone like Craig Sublieri back then, to help me out, because I definitely succumbed to the negativity, and it sucks. So seeing new people, when the new guys go through it, like again, example, Craig Sublieri handled it amazingly. He's a god among men. I'm telling you, he's a monster. And the fact that he has the willpower to be able to do that, push through that injury like that twice, blows my mind, because it really fucked me up. I was severely depressed for a long time. I was like, in my own head, I can't lift. I'm not going to be able to arm wrestle anymore. So why the fuck even lift? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So, I spiraled pretty bad. It was bad. And then, time went by. I got back into lifting weights very, 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 religiously. I get to the point where I was on the I could have been bodybuilding if I wanted to. I just tried. The only thing I do was like, oh, try to get as strong as I can and try to look as sexy as I can. There were my two other options, right? So I lifted like crazy, and once I got better, I kind of tried to put arm wrestling away.
Yeah.
I tried to put it in the back of my mind because I didn't want to think about it because it made me depressed.
Right.
And every time I talk to my dad, he's like, oh, well, Brandon and Matt Powell and Black Guys, they're all going to that national championships.
Oh,
I'm like, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Thanks, Dad.
But like, oh my God. Yeah. So that went on for, years, 4 years. And I met my fiance. I had 2 kids. Now I'm 200 pounds. So I was 200 pounds. And I couldn't not do it. It just took a long time for me to finally be like, fuck it. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Right.
So, a year and a half ago, it was only a year and a half ago. I went back. I went to a different orthopedic surgeon specialist. And I explained the whole scenario, and he said, no, it's technically more prone to breaking again, but only if I get put into a bad spot. Gotcha. Which is why, I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't really use side pressure anymore. I'll hook and I'll hold, but when I drive, everything's back pressure, especially right-handed.
You're like dragging more than.
And that's why. I love side pressure. I love it. I used to use it all the time, and I felt great doing it. I felt strong. Yeah. But for that reason specifically, I won't do it anymore. And it's just how it is. But so he gave me the go ahead. So I could do it. So literally immediately after that second opinion I got, which obviously years later, I hopped right back in, came right back. And that's when I met all the newer guys. Like, Steve Demmett was one of the first new guys that I met.
Yep.
In the sport. I mean, there's everybody now, Ed, Steve, all you guys from Philly, all you guys from Philly. And I didn't even know, Paul Lynn, he came into the sport when I left. So I didn't know who Paul Lynn was. I used to pull with Storm, Sam Harris. They were all down in Pittston back in the day with our tournaments, before they were huge names in the sport. Right. That's cool. So all those guys were down there with us, pulling with us. And, Storm was, I think, in his early 20s. He's I don't know if he's younger. He might be thinking he's younger than me. Yeah, he's a year younger than me. Wow. So yeah, I used to pull 18-year-old Storm, back in the day down here.
That's awesome.
But it's great. When I coming back, it's great to see how much the sport it has exploded. It still seems like it's an underground sport. It's an underrated sport, but it blew up just in the 4 years that I was
especially lately with Armbat, dude.
Oh yeah, Armbat's awesome.
We got so many new guys that just show up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I've had a couple pictures, couple practices with new guys from Armbat that came to our practices, and some of them are showing really good interest, and they're doing really well. So it's awesome. That's great.
It's pretty neat. The app's definitely doing what it was intended to do.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah. Now, when your arm actually broke, did you feel a lot of pain right in that moment, or was your adrenaline too hyped up to feel it?
I'm quite positive my adrenaline was still through the roof. So for anyone who doesn't know who I am or watch me, like I get really hyped up. I really hype myself up to the point where everyone calls me Scream, and I can't not do that. If I'm in a full on match and if I'm going a full bore, if I'm not screaming, then something's not right. Something's not right. Yeah. I can't help it. That's what happens. But so yeah, I didn't really feel it. I have a high pain tolerance in general, but when it happened in the moment, I had no idea. I looked down and I had no idea. I don't know. I was like, why did I get pinned?
Yeah.
So I went to move my arm and I felt my bone shift, and it still didn't even hurt. It wasn't painful. It was just uncomfortable. Right. Yeah. I held my arm there, and I was more or less pissed and angry at myself than in pain.
Yeah.
What sucked was the surgeon that I went to, the orthopedic surgeon I went to. It was on a Friday or Saturday, but the surgeon was booked till Monday.
Oh, that's rough.
So they sent me home with like a sling, like from CPR. So, and I couldn't take any painkillers because I was going under anesthesia for surgery.
Yeah. You're just sitting there with a broken arm, like
so I went
dangling.
Home. I went home in a sling, not even a splint, like a sling with literally a broken arm for 2.5 days, 3 days until I could go in for surgery. That was worse than anything else.
I bet.
Because I went home, I sat in my lazy boy and I tried sleeping in my chair in my living room because I didn't want to lay down.
Yeah.
I tried sitting there like this, and every time I would fall asleep and I would feel it again, and I would wake up and that was painful.
Awful.
So once the adrenaline wore off, just sitting there with a broken arm, that was worse than anything else.
Right. It's funny because Dave Schell said the same thing, that he didn't really realize that he broke it at first.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a shock in the adrenaline. Until you try to move it or try to do something with it, it's hard. It's not. It just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. That's awful, dude. I can't imagine.
I mean, it happens. I'm not glad that it happened to me because, obviously it limits my right arm's ability in the sport. Thankfully, I'm ambidextrous. I have a whole other hand here, but I'm in a sense I'm glad because it taught me a lesson.
Yeah,
and it was something that I knew. Obviously, I knew it could happen. I knew the position. I knew the break arm more than I think any other novice at the time because my dad was a referee and he's drilling it into me at practice all the time. Sometimes it just happens.
Yeah.
I mean, like it could happen to anybody. I mean, what was it, a few months ago? Devin Lorat's son.
Yeah. Right. You would think
Devin Lorat's son.
He knows what he's doing. You know, you'd think.
So, I mean, everyone's built differently. Some people could do movements that other people can't do.
Right.
Some people are like Todd Hutchings, for example, are just built differently. Like their body can handle that stress. Others cannot. Most cannot.
Like Dave, his broke while he was trying to press. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's one I'm glad for me as a guide, or not, I don't want to say a teacher, but as someone who tries to help new people and try to guide them up through learning things. It definitely gave me the mentality to, everything I do prioritizes safety.
Yeah.
If you do anything that looks anywhere near unsafe, I don't even teach people to use any kind of side pressure ever. Yeah. I teach them 100% back pressure. Even if they're hooking, hook and then back pressure, top roll, back pressure, everything. I don't teach anyone how to shoulder press. I don't like teaching people how to shoulder press because I don't like teaching novices to go inside. I don't think they have the musculature development. They don't have the ability. They don't have the technical know-how. They should not be going inside because if you're going inside hardcore for a shoulder press, for example, and someone is a very fast top roller, the moment you get pulled out into that spot, because you're inside, you're trying to go in here. Right. The moment you get pulled into a bad spot, novices, they won't know better. They're going to go, okay, just keep driving because they don't know any better. Right. So I don't want to put someone into a spot where they could be exposed into a bad, a dangerous spot because of that. So I don't even teach people how to do shoulder presses. I won't. If somebody wants to learn that, I'll tell them, find someone who can help you because I'm not going to teach you how to do that because I don't want to see somebody who I helped get in the same kind of scenario that I was in, and it was terrible.
I don't even train side pressure because I feel like you get enough of it just in table time.
Yeah,
because I've tried a little bit to train side pressure. You watch like Todd and Ryan doing side pressure exercises, and I admittedly tried to do the same thing, and I was like, that doesn't feel good. Like that doesn't feel right. Something bad's gonna happen. Like let's not go there yet. Plus, I'm too new to be doing that anyway.
Side pressure. Sorry, side pressure comes with time for sure. Arm wrestling in general is a marathon. It is not a sprint. You cannot go from 0 to 100 in a very short period of time unless you are one of those special breeds that like 1%ers, like Todd Hutchings or even Paul Lynn. And it's been a few years, but he jumped. Right? But not everyone can do that. You cannot hold yourself to the same standard as these guys.
Right.
And it's
it's all genetics and
I mean, granted, yes, if you work every day, right? If you don't quit for a perfect work ethic, I would say would be Brandon Elsesser.
Oh yeah.
He never stops. He has
He's a beast.
probably the best work ethic in the sport, at least in our area, at least in our half of the United States.
Right.
And it shows.
And it pays off. Yeah.
And it shows. He's a monster, and he's you know, he's come a long way. But even still, he started back before I was hurt. I remember arm wrestling him when he was a novice.
Yeah.
But there's you know, even if you work every single day dedicated with good trainers and you know exactly what's going on and you're getting the best of the best, every single person will progress differently.
Right.
I mean, where someone might be able to start off doing side pressure within the first month and like be awesome at it and strong at it.
Yeah.
But and actually be strong at it, not just think you're strong at it. Like some, you know, some people can't do it at all. It just doesn't feel. And like when I first started arm wrestling, I didn't like the hook. I didn't want a hook. I never wanted to be a hooker. I wanted the top roll because when I was in practice, anytime I would go inside and have a nice war, my elbow would kill me.
Yeah.
I couldn't take it sometimes.
Right.
And like how
it's an awful feeling.
Yeah. You know, you guys talked about it in your previous interviews. I would have 7-day break in between practice, and I couldn't lift weights until the 7th day. And I'm like, well, I got practice today. So
right.
You know, it hit me hard. It was bad. The soreness was bad. It took me a long time to get over it. And, you know, I have kind of a little system for myself now, because even now I still get it. If I you know, I
go hard.
6 hours out of practice,
same with me.
Nonstop. And if there's a lot of new people in, I'm always on the defense because I want to help other people, you know, establish their power and their moves. So I'll hold and let people, you know, pull.
Which is worse.
It takes a toll on your elbow sometimes after a night full of that. So it takes me about 2 to 3 days still to bounce back into the gym heavy. But I have to do I have a very specific rehab that I need to do for myself instead of just resting. I don't I don't think resting alone it doesn't fix it.
Right. No, absolutely not. I've tried that. It doesn't work. Like when the first few months were awful for me because I only hook. So most arm wrestlers don't start as like a hooker, you know what I mean? Or people try to tell them not to.
Most arm wrestlers aren't.
But it just felt comfortable.
Most arm wrestlers they don't have the build of a T-Rex, a midget T-Rex.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, someone like you or I, we've been blessed with little
little tiny arms.
T-Rex arms. And tiny hands, so we have to work our way around it.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, it's not. It's technically a disadvantage, but it has its advantages too.
Yeah.
The reason why a lot of people grew up with me like, oh my God, your fingers are strong, your hands are really strong. It's because it has to be. Like, if it wasn't, I wouldn't be a terrible arm wrestler. Yeah. Like you'd
be like what I am right now.
Yeah. I mean, everyone starts from the same place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I didn't want to hook for that reason. I knew I should have, but I didn't want to accept it. So I was like, I'm gonna talk. And I have I've had a lot of matches where I could flash people on a top roll, and it worked out great. But once I got into the pro division, pro brackets, everyone's kind of smarter than me, and they kind of know better. I can't sneak it away with just a fast hit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Stuff like a very fast hits. And speed that could get you pretty far in the amateur brackets because no one's ready for it. Everyone's kind of still thinking about what they're doing, they're processing. Once you get into the pros, that's when you really find out what techniques actually work for you and what you might need to adjust. Because the pros they pick apart your hand instantly. Just as the moment you grip up, they pick apart everything you have, and that's where you really see your weaknesses. So when you go to try to do something and your hand goes boop and your hand dumps and nothing moves, and you're like, wow, okay, this sucks. You know, that's why I realized, you know what, I'm glad I know how to top roll, and I worked it a lot. So I'm glad I have the option, but I kind of now I should probably work on my hook, because that's probably going to be my strength with my build. And
that's why, like, you know, like at the tournament, like I like pulling with guys like you who will say, try this, do this a little, you know, make adjustments to what I'm doing. Or like Josh Vinacore does the same thing.
Yes. Yeah, he's a great guy.
You know, he's got good table IQ. So whenever he comes to Philly, I try to absorb as much knowledge as I can.
Yeah,
So
he's in the same boat as me. His father, John Vinegar has been in the sport since forever. Yeah. So he's got definitely a lot of table knowledge as well.
Yeah, that's why I like talking to like guys like you and him too, because you have stories from before I arm wrestled. So like I get to hear a lot of like history of like people in our area. I mean, this is a great area for arm wrestling too, because we have so much going on around here.
I think that the tri-state area specifically might. I'm probably biased because I'm here. I live here.
Yeah.
But I think the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, is probably the single most concentrated area for highly skilled / arm wrestling groups and opportunities.
I think so.
I would amount of teams that we have in our area, the amount of arm wrestlers in general, the amount of high level arm wrestlers.
Yeah.
I mean, PA, Paul Lynn, Sam Harris, Storm, Dave Chafee, right there.
Right. Yeah. Right off the cuff like that.
Almost all four of those guys are hammer holders currently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, Dave Chafee, he's in PAL. He's about to smash Levon, but beside the point,
I can't wait.
all PA guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think we're in a great area for learning the sport, getting into the sport, and just honing your skills. This is a great place to be.
And the good thing is like it's not that far from like New England has some great teams that come down. You know, you go a little further south, like into Virginia, those guys come up.
Yep.
Because it's not that far.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the tournaments are always like have a good turnout.
Yeah, it's from an outsider's view, arm wrestling is like a mystery, random, like secret sport. Yeah. But once you really get into it, at least where we are, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of guys. You know what I mean? Like, if you're anywhere in Pennsylvania, we got a team for you. Like anyone who wants to start arm wrestling, anywhere in PA, no matter where you are, there's a team close by. I guarantee it. You just don't know about it.
Right. Yeah, because there's a lot of small teams. I shouldn't say teams. There's a lot of small practices popping up.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like 4 or 5 guys just practicing together.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
And I like the whole team thing. I like having our little branding, but it doesn't take me away from, it's never a competition. The goal is just to have groups of people in different areas, hubs where anyone can go to at any time.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I don't really like scheduling my practices when I know, Team Predator wants to have a practice the next day. If I know that, I don't want to conflict with those guys.
Yeah.
I want us all to be successful and all have our own team practices.
Right.
And, sometimes I go to Team Predators practice. I went to a Team Philly practice once.
Yeah.
So I like to do that. I just like to be able to give our guys that are close to us their own option too. So if they maybe they don't want to drive 3 hours or 2 hours.
Right.
So they have an option to come with us because we're technically a smaller team. We usually have anywhere between 10 to we have big turnouts too, but 10 to 30s are big range. 10 being the average. So, but in our small group, we have a lot of skill and a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
That I like to spread. I like to share. I like to help new people, and it's a lot different than nowadays. It's hell of a lot different than it was when I started.
Yeah.
Back then, everyone held their cards close to their chest. The guys who knew something didn't want you to know it.
Right.
They wanted to keep those secrets.
Secret move.
Yeah. They wanted to keep those. Now, I mean, I like to say Devin was a big push for this.
Yeah.
That is a lot more out in the open. Yeah. But when I started arm wrestling, Devin Lorette YouTube videos, there was like montages and highlights, but there was no seminars. There wasn't like training videos. It was just like, hey, watch the pros arm wrestle and try to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it seems like social media and arm wrestling
it definitely helps.
Are just starting. Like it's just the beginning of, you got guys like Ryan Bowen.
Yes.
There's tons of podcasts now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, all that's
pretty neat.
It's helping. It's definitely helping. It's definitely helping the amateur. When I've always wanted to help and teach and share whatever knowledge I had, to anybody who needs it, or anyone who might need it. I'm not saying my answers are always right because they're definitely not. But I could give you my input and you can take it or leave it. But what I do know that I won't do is steer someone towards injury or towards anything incorrect. I know my ability as a teacher or a trainer is definitely good enough to where I could keep you safe.
Right.
From firsthand experience.
And that's really the important part.
Yeah.
As long as you stay safe.
Because unfortunately, there are a lot of crews or a lot of teams or groups of people, like you said, small practices, like 4 or 5 people. Yeah. They don't have a skilled guy in their group.
Right.
Someone like me or you at Philly, we might take it for granted. Like I have my dad and Flash and we had Storm for the longest time, Black Ice.
Right. Well, even Philly, like it's fairly all new guys.
True. It's
we
a big
don't have
too.
Like a lot of guys that have been doing it more than like a year or two.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So there are a lot of things that these new guys, they might be training on a weekly basis, but they might not be learning technically a lot because they don't have somebody to help them, to give them that knowledge or to, they might figure it out in their own way. And then later on, someone will come and say, "Oh, if you do this," and explain it technically, and they go, "Oh, that's kind of what I've been doing. I just didn't really know it had a term." You know what I mean? Or something like that.
Yep.
I've met amateur arm wrestlers who have been doing it for 2 years, arm wrestling for 2 years, and they didn't really like understand what pronation cupping was, or you know what I mean? They didn't know the terminologies. They just knew to do it.
Right. That's funny.
So it happened. Like I said, I take it for granted having people, very knowledgeable veterans in my corner that I could learn from. Some people don't have that. You know what I mean?
There's a lot on YouTube and stuff, but there's nothing that teaches you better than just being on a table.
Oh yeah.
And like feeling it for yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The amount of like micro adjustments when you're gripped up. Like I think you said in one of your other interviews, the grip you have now, and then if someone comes and then just moves your fingers literally like an eighth of an inch.
You've done that to me.
Yeah, you have.
Like try this, and all of a sudden it's a whole new game.
You opened up all your power, and you're like, "Wow, I don't know what just happened."
Right.
It's mind blowing sometimes. That's the one thing I never got tired of how interesting it is. The physics of it, where if I'm gripping your hand right here and I'm losing, or it's way harder for me to hold you than literally if I move my fingers, like it feels like I'm not even moving them. It's an eighth of an inch, and now I can hold you all day long.
Yeah,
it's just
right. It's crazy.
The hand control is everything. And it blows my mind. And I love that. I love that about the sport. How it's very intricate. It's very, very intricate.
Yeah, I did like everybody else. Like, you watch a few videos and you're like, "Oh, I want to arm wrestle," and I just started working out, thinking I got to get stronger.
Yeah.
And my buddy Corey Dupree up in New Hampshire was like, "Just get to a practice. Stop screwing around. You're wasting time." You know? And I finally went to a practice, and then it clicked. Like, okay, this is why you go to practice. Like, you have to.
Yeah, a lot of new guys still. I know a lot of amateurs who still practice. They've been in it for a year, 2 years, less than 2 years. I would say I would consider a true amateur less than 2 years, and they still they know what they need to do, but they don't train what they need to do.
Right.
The things you need to train to be a good arm wrestler. Arm wrestling is a strength sport at its core, right? So be strong. It's number one, right? But it's easy to do lat pull down or lats, biceps, back, shoulders,
like general workouts.
It's easy to do that every day of the week if you wanted to.
Yeah.
What's boring is squeezing stuff and just twisting your hand and rising like this.
Yeah.
That is boring in the gym. One.
Right.
Two, a lot of people don't like I noticed a lot of amateurs don't like doing it in big gyms because they think they look stupid. It looks stupid. I've got people looking at me every time I go to the gym. I make sure I'm wearing a very blatant arm wrestling shirt, just so when they look what the hell is he strapped his hand to? I'm doing sitting there doing this.
Then they read your shirt and they're like,
maybe they'll, I mean, I don't really give a shit anyway, but they don't do that in the gym. And if you're going to the gym to be a better arm wrestler and you're not working any of the primary movements, supination, pronation, rise, and cup,
Yeah.
you're wasting your time.
Oh, absolutely.
You're wasting your time, because I know guys that are huge, massive arms,
Yeah.
clearly stronger than me, that do nothing to me on an arm wrestling table because their hand goes.
Yeah.
Once your hand goes, none of this matters anymore.
Right.
This is the weak link here.
Yeah.
You need to strengthen what's weak, and
Oh,
it's just people they just don't want to do those workouts, I feel like. And I've told a couple amateurs time and time again, like, the guys who I train personally, I'll actually message them on a day-to-day basis. Did you work out your hand today?
Yeah.
My routine is 5 or 6 days a week, and I'm doing hands and wrist every single day.
Absolutely.
It's just different movements.
Yeah.
I'm doing it every single day, though.
Yeah.
And then
I wish I had started doing that sooner.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I'm really new, but
most people do. I wish I started sooner.
Yeah.
When I first started, I was doing preacher
biceps. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
It doesn't matter if someone who has a super strong top roll, right?
They just keep taking
my short, stocky, massive forearms or whatever. It doesn't matter if my hand pulled out. None of that matters.
Once your hand's out of it, your arm's out of it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're just done.
Yep.
But that's what made me realize, like, that's my weak point. And then after talking to a lot of people, I just was like, you know what? Hand control every day.
Yeah.
I don't care. Even if I go light, just go light, high rep. I do something hand control every single day.
It all starts with your fingertips. It all starts with your hands.
Yeah.
Like, even while I'm at work, I used to use a hoodie, a rolled up hoodie. That's a tip from Travis Bajent, and just literally just squeeze it as hard as I can. Squeeze.
Yeah.
Now I have a really heavy duty, like, rubber stress ball. And
Yeah.
when I'm at work, just like hanging out, I'll sit there and I'll do 50 reps, and I'll switch and I'll do 50 reps.
Yeah.
And I'll just do back nonstop, just so you're doing something. And doing anything's better than doing nothing.
Yeah. Sometimes, like, it sounds stupid, but I'll just bend my wrist and hold it as long as I can. Yeah. And just get that flexion in the wrist. And, like, I mean, sometimes after a few minutes, you're like, wow, you start getting pumped up. So like when I'm doing nothing or I'm programming something at work, I'll just bend my wrist and I look like an idiot, but I'm just sitting there like reading something with my wrist. Yeah. Just sitting there like.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was driving trucks for a while, and box trucks, and I would drive to New York every day, and I would literally have a thick cotton hoodie on my passenger seat, and I would roll it up like into a towel, and I would sit there and just squeeze it over and over again, which is something Travis Bajent that says he does in his passive time, and it's better than nothing.
Having a cable in your truck, like, over the top, dude.
I don't know if you ever saw. I have a picture. I have a picture of me with a rehab band. It's on I have it tied to my holy shit handle on my passenger.
Nice.
I have it here, so I was driving like this, holding the static pressure.
That's funny.
Yeah, I did that for a while.
That's good. I mean, like, every little bit helps. The more your hands get used to that, the better.
Yeah, if you're a amateur arm wrestler and you're just getting into it, if you work out nothing but rise, cup, pronation, and supination, those 4 movements, for at least 5 days a week for a year, that will literally, you could do nothing else. Those 4 movements, if you work them out and get stronger with them, not just do like 100 reps,
right?
Those 5 movements will take you out of the amateur class.
Right.
Easily. I guarantee it, because that's amateur. There's a couple things I call amateur killers. One of them is speed. Speed's an amateur killer, because if you're faster than somebody else, generally the amateurs, you're going to flash somebody.
Yeah.
The second thing, actually the most important thing, is hand strength. If you have a strong hand and you're strong in those movements with the hand, you will most likely be able to control every other amateur in your bracket. Depending, obviously, there are some cases. I'm just saying, every case by case is different. But in general, if you can control their hand, it doesn't matter what technique you want to do. If you just control their hand, you could keep them where you feel strong until they get tired.
Right.
Because after so much, you can't push anymore. Once you lose your hand, you lose your hand.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny. It's so true too. Like, like some guys come to our practice and, they're strong in the gym, and that, and they're big, and some 150-pounder just flashes them, like, or just takes their wrist, and then they either never come back, or that hypes them up to start coming even more.
Yeah.
It's like one or the other.
I can't tell you how many guys I work in nuclear security. So I do security for the nuclear power plant here in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And, most of the guys in my department, security, are ex-military, ex-police, some kind of armed forces. So they're generally ex-Marines, ex-Army guys.
Yeah. Wait, is that where the name for the team came from?
No, surprisingly not. The name, the nuclear arms was named before I was born.
Oh, okay.
It just happened that I work at a nuclear power plant. It's just coincidence, which is nice.
Funny.
Yeah. But so yeah, I've actually arm wrestled a bunch of the guys at work just for fun. Just hold. I don't do anything. I just hold them there. We'll let them push as hard as they can until they look up and realize I'm not doing anything. But
when they find out you're an arm wrestler, do they want to arm wrestle you to just see what it feels like?
Most people do.
Yeah.
Most people do. But yeah, most of them are like, some of them are ex-Army Rangers, and like these guys are crazy. I don't want to tangle with these guys.
Right.
But
beat them on the table.
But yeah, when it comes to arm wrestling,
right.
Sure. Yeah. And they're shocked. They're like, holy wow, it's crazy the amount. And most of them could tell, like, as soon as I close my hand, they're like, whoa, I can feel something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's crazy. Even after only a few years in the sport, you're like dominant compared to the average Joe in arm wrestling, because once you learn a little bit, it's like you have so much power
right
compared to the average person.
Right. Most average people just stay flat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
which is why
if you have
I never pin a random person.
Right.
Who doesn't know.
Yeah.
I never pin them ever. I never go that way at all. Right. I'll just let them take me a little bit, and I'll hold them there until they give up because they see me.
Right. Yeah.
That's how I treat it. Because one, I don't want them to get hurt.
Yeah.
Because they can. Two, I want them to
realize.
I want them to be shocked so that they go, whoa, and then they get more interested.
Right.
Everything I want to do is trying to get more interest in the sport.
Yeah.
It's always about getting more people interested in the sport, whether it's something someone who's now is glad they know about it, or now someone who's actually a spectator or actually wants to start learning. Like any one of those is awesome, just to get the sport out there. Yeah.
That's kind of why I started this. Like, it started out, I was just going to do interviews, ask questions, get an answer. And now it's turned into almost like more like a podcast, where it's just like a conversation.
Yeah, it's cool.
Less like an interview,
It's nice. It's like a little personal biohistory almost. It's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. You get to know some local arm wrestlers and see what they've gone through. And I think that's going to be good for like beginners or guys that haven't even begun yet, to be like, oh, they're just like me. I just need to go to a practice and get into it.
Yeah. There's a lot of common things that all the new guys get into that they don't know are common things. They don't understand. So it's going to be great to. And obviously, anyone who's like me, I have a very obsessive personality. So when I find something I get interested in, I research the shit out of it. Yeah. So, I have a lot of hobbies. I love hobbies. I love all doing little stuff here and there. And I learn as much as I can. I absorb it like a sponge. So once I get interested in something, I'll literally research everything I can find, and I'll watch every minute of it. Stuff like this.
The same way.
Stuff like
even
this.
if I'm going to buy something, I got to watch like 50 review videos on it first.
Yeah. So having this information just out there on YouTube available for people to find and watch if they wanted to is awesome.
Oh, dude, my 3 viewers are going to love this.
Hey, like I said, everyone starts somewhere.
That's true, man. And I figured the only reason I kind of started doing it was, I post funny stuff usually. I try to do like just goofy shit. And a lot of people started reacting to like the band videos. Yeah. So I was like, maybe I can use this momentum to, get a little podcast going for beginners, for guys that are like, under 2 years,
Yeah.
Because all the interviews out there are all like top level guys. You don't have just average Joe doing an interview, or like low level pros, or like top level amateurs, like right in that range. you know, because it's hard for a new guy to relate to, like, you know, Devin's talking about his pains and aches and what he's going through, but what he's going through is nothing like what a beginner goes through at his level.
It's completely different.
You can't relate to it.
Yeah, doing some rehab work to get your tennis elbow feeling a little bit better, and getting full on like stem cell shots like Devin is, like like that's a whole nother level. Like you're not there yet. We're not there yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
maybe never.
Yeah, you know? I think learning, you gotta pick who you're learning from, because obviously there's a lot of people who think they're trying to help you, and they're not really giving you the right information, and it's not their fault. They're trying to help you. I think it's coming out of a good place.
Yeah.
But there are some people who try to give advice that maybe they shouldn't be giving advice. But that doesn't mean you need to go to if you don't have a world-class trainer, you're screwed. Because there's a lot of guys who are, I mean, my example, for those who can't teach, right? So I'm not like a top tier guy, but I'm very knowledgeable in the technical side of the sport,
right? From
experience, and that's just I absorb things really well. Yeah, I could explain it and make it relatable to an amateur. There are some people who know everything, are amazing, but can't teach for shit,
right?
Because they don't know how to translate it, or how to bring it to words,
right?
Properly. And there's a lot of people like that are, so there are bad teachers who are very good arm wrestlers, and it just is how it is. But there's also very bad arm wrestlers who are very bad teachers too. So you gotta have to pick and choose. That's why a very common theme among amateurs learning, they hear it a lot probably, is take a little bit from everybody.
Yeah.
Right. You can't really, especially with everyone, you meet so many people in such a short period of time when you first get into the sport, and everyone wants to help you, which is awesome.
Right.
It gets extremely overwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially for someone who doesn't even know what pronation. They're still struggling with. They don't even understand what pronation is really yet. They have all these people telling them all these different conflicting things.
Right. Yeah.
It's very, very confusing.
Oh, definitely.
When I teach somebody, or someone asks me for tips, I used to go through a whole process like everybody else does, and try to explain as much as I can without being overbearing.
Yeah.
But over time, seeing how all the amateurs are getting all that from like a dozen different people at a time, I know it's not going to work. It's too much. It's too much overload.
Oh, absolutely.
So anymore, my best advice, I cut down like everything for someone who's completely new, is the 4 commandments: rise, pronation, supination, and cup. Learn what those are, learn what they do, and strengthen those 4 things, and that is it. When you are ready to learn more, you will learn more. Yeah. But you don't do anything until you are comfortable in all 4 of those movements and understand what they do with your hand, what they do to your hand, what they do to your opponent's hand when you implement each movement.
Right.
And I think that's
good advice. Yeah.
Cut out all the other shit. That'll come in time. And then just get strong, get your hand stronger. Yeah. Because what I'm seeing in amateurs nowadays is everyone wants to skip ahead. They want to skip ahead to the early stages and get right to the technical stuff.
Right.
But they can't do the technical stuff because their hand isn't strong enough.
Right.
But Absolutely. They don't want to, they won't believe themselves that their hand isn't strong enough, and they think it's something, oh, well, my opponent's hand is stronger. He's got more years of experience. No, you're too weak. Your hand's too weak.
Yeah. And I brought this up before, like people will come up to me and be like, do this. And I'm like, I'm trying to. I just don't have the strength to do it to this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because
so,
I mean,
it's funny.
I'm a hooker, right?
Yeah.
If I get put into a hook and get smashed and get beat, it's not because I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
Right.
I knew what I was supposed to do. It just turns out that the guy across the table from me did the same thing better.
And better. Yeah. Stronger. Right.
Yeah. So
exactly.
He's been working out that same movement that I've been working out, but more.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it gets to a point. I mean, technique versus technique. There's always a battle, a rock, paper, scissors battle with, grip and my technique versus your technique. Right. But there are a lot of matches where it gets to a point where, okay, I'm in a good spot. He's in a good spot. Now it's just see who's stronger in that spot. Yeah. Right. So at its core, like I said, arm wrestling is a strength sport.
Yeah.
But most people overlook the whole hand strength thing, and they
me
kind
too.
of put it behind them, and they don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
And they try to skip ahead,
Yeah.
and that doesn't work. It'll end up biting you in the long run, because eventually, if you make it out of the amateur bracket with that mentality,
Yeah.
when you get to the pros, man, you're gonna be.
Then you're just starting over and circling back to do what you should have done in the beginning.
It is not fun, because I'll tell you what, taking your licks while you're an amateur and learning what you need to strengthen is one thing.
Yeah.
But not doing that and getting all the way to the pro classes, the amount of backwards homework you have to do now to catch back up, you're gonna get smashed for a long time in the pro classes until you realize what you need to do to strengthen yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Now, do you do any like super matches, stuff like? Or, well, I know people don't like to call them super matches. You say challenge matches.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. The only one I've done since I've come back, I did one. Like the tournament I came back to, I was untrained. I was out of shape. I had I think it was just, I can't remember. It was a righty and a lefty against Jeff Montgomery. He's a local guy here.
Mm-hmm.
Very strong, very good, very underrated. Doesn't really get out to a lot of tournaments, but makes some noise when he does. I ended up losing. I lost. I took him, I think 2-3 right-handed, and he wiped me left-handed. But that was just me getting back into the sport.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I have not had any other challenge matches.
Yeah.
Not that I've not been interested in them. I love challenge matches, but I want to get back to my fight and weight.
Yeah.
Where I feel comfortable at, and where I feel comfortable at is, 170 to 189.
Yeah.
Which I'm on my way now. I'm 195. I was a 220 like not too long ago, and but that's just more, me being lazy, pretty much.
It's having kids, dude.
Yeah, having kids. Me being lazy, so
yeah.
But I got the fire under me now, so
that's good, man.
Burn it down.
Anybody that you'd like to have one with?
I have a long list. I mean, I think everybody has a list.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, my list consists of a lot of names that I know I can't beat right now.
Right.
They're kind of like goals more than targets, right?
Did you hear in the podcast the other night with Ed how Dave Shell was a goal of his when he first started?
Really?
Because he couldn't beat Dave yet, so it was a goal of his to be able to beat Dave.
Wow.
And now he crushes Dave.
Oh yeah, Ed has progressed. He is a perfect example of someone who takes the licks, understands what he needs to strengthen, and does it, and works his hand. His Facebook videos are proof. What he's doing is working.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That is why Ed, out of all the local PA guys, all the amateurs that are around here, and there's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably jumped the furthest, the fastest. And
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Because of that. It is because of that. He does not have any expert trainers. It is because he's picking up information from online and whoever he has, and he's working his hand. He's strengthening his hand. He posts it online all the time, and the stuff he's doing, 90% of it is very, very good workouts. They are very good workouts that I approve of, and I know my dad talks about it too. And so that's the reason why he's gotten.
I mean, he's already got a good base from bodybuilding and doing his strongman stuff, but man, he's got a strong hand and wrist. For his weight.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, even for not his weight, like he beats guys that are much bigger than him at practice. No problem.
Yeah, he's definitely coming a long way. Yeah,
he's a good dude.
But yeah, I don't have anyone really in my sights as of right now. I still have a lot of work to do on myself.
Yeah.
I'm actually about to. I already kind of started a few weeks ago. I'm doing this kind of like this 6-month phase out where I kind of like don't really talk to too many people. I don't really do much. I don't go anywhere. I'm doing nothing but just working on myself.
Yeah. Nice.
Because I found in the past, I get too invested in helping people sometimes that I lack on my own training.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Or like for practices, for example, sometimes I find myself the whole practice pretty much sitting in a negative, holding amateurs and I have done nothing for myself.
Yeah, you're not working yourself. Yeah.
So yeah, and that's why I like going to like team Predator in Allentown or Paul Lynn's place
new
once in a
people
while,
to pull with. Yeah,
because it's so refreshing to me to. And I love helping the new guys. I'll do it as much as I can, but it's so refreshing to me to be the student again.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot that I need to learn,
Right.
a ton. So me stepping out of my what I'm normally doing is teaching and helping people, and actually being able to learn from, the big guys it's refreshing to me. And I think I need to do it more often, but I kind of, I fight myself on it sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to be taking the next like 6 months. I'm kind of going to go a little bit off the grid a little bit and do nothing.
So I got you at the right time before you disappeared.
You got me before my Rocky montage started.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Hopefully you can make it down to a Philly practice sometime.
Oh yeah, I want to. I mean, I wish they weren't on Tuesdays though.
I know.
That's such a weird day,
week, dude.
Yeah, it's such a. I work, all week long, and I don't want to. That's a long drive for me to come home.
Yeah.
Expect to wake up the next morning.
I know. Dude, like we at Philly practice, like they start at 6, and then sometimes we're there till 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and
goofing off.
Knowing me, I won't leave until it's packed up. So I liked it. I like that.
Yeah, you're like us, dude. We're always like the last ones to leave everything.
Yeah, I mean, what was it that last tournament we went to?
We were there way late.
Yeah, we were.
That was it was like a 12-hour day, dude.
Armwrestling with the man or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny, dude.
Yeah,
so addicting, and
it is.
Everyone's so cool. Like you just want to hang out and talk.
Yeah,
talk arm wrestling.
Yeah, it's great.
It's hard not to. But, dude, I appreciate you doing this. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, I'm nobody, so like.
Oh yeah.
I haven't even competed in a tournament, and here I am asking other people questions.
No, it's cool. It's cool, man. It's
fun.
Anything's better than nothing. Anything at all is better than nothing. When it comes to working out. When it comes to anything in life, doing anything is better than doing nothing, right?
That's true. That is true, man.
You doing this is better than you doing nothing.
Yeah.
Sitting on the couch and wishing you're arm wrestling. At least you're talking about it.
Right. I don't mind being the worst arm wrestler in the world. You know what I mean?
At some point in time, that title's gonna get challenged. I don't know.
I know. That's why I'm avoiding. It's funny though, because if if someone challenges me and I win, they're gonna look stupid losing to the worst.
Yeah, you might have to change your whole brand to the second worst arm wrestler.
I know, dude. I'm just gonna have to keep going. Every time I win, it's gonna change.
Yeah, just add tallies.
The third, it's just gonna keep going. Do you think Dave Shell's a serial killer?
I don't think so.
I was thinking this, like it could be a cover. Like he goes to all these practices, and when he's like in that town, he kills someone.
That's his alibi for dumping the bodies.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Well, I was there arm wrestling," but he really killed someone. I don't know.
Man. I don't know. I don't think so.
One day
he killed them by bleeding them out over
He's got that stamina.
Yeah, 12 hours
for an old guy.
Yeah,
he's such a good dude though.
No, he is.
I tease him, but he's a great guy. Like I talk to him probably more than any other arm wrestler. And anytime there's any kind of gossip or like a good practice, like Dave just knows everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So it's like if you want to find a practice on the third Tuesday of every
I literally
month, he'll know where it is.
What was it? It was the practice I went to. It was the last Allentown practice I went to. With I took me and Black Ice went up there.
Yeah, that was a good one. It looked like it was real good.
Yeah, we were planning on going to Mike Kehoe's place.
Oh yeah, and he canceled it.
He ended up canceling it, and I didn't know what practices what was going on. So I messaged Dave. I was like, Dave,
he'll know. Yeah,
I need to go to a practice tomorrow. Where am I going? And he's like, be here at this time at this place.
Yeah.
So I grabbed black ice and went down there. So
That's
if,
cool, man.
if I ever have a question where I don't know what's going on, I'll message him. And
Absolutely. I do the same thing.
Tournaments, where they are, what time they're at. He knows what the GPS to put in.
He knows who won the last tournament.
Yeah.
He knows everything, dude.
Yeah, he knows. Even tournaments that I go to, if I was there, I could be keeping score, and I can't remember who won.
Right, but he'll know.
Yeah, I could have refed the
actually,
matches, and I don't know who won.
The funniest thing is he has an Excel spreadsheet of every tournament he's ever been in. Like he knows how many times he's won, lost.
Yep.
Like he has it down to a science.
Yeah, that's
kind of cool.
Yeah, I can't do it.
But not many people do that.
No,
you know?
No, it's good.
He goes to a lot of tournaments and competes in a lot, multiple classes, and
Yeah, that's really good. That's good that you can do that. I can't.
Yeah,
I can't remember what I ate for lunch. You know what I mean?
Like the arm wrestling community is like an extended family for a lot of guys.
Yeah,
it really is. You don't have to live near each other either. Like there's guys that I talk to down south on a regular basis, and it's like we're good friends that we've never met.
Yeah, I've been in that situation many times where, like, the biggest one was an AC, the World Championship qualifier. I met so many guys that I already knew, or they knew me, and it was just through Facebook.
Yeah,
and we already kind of knew each other.
Right.
That's really cool that you can do that. This sport allows us to do that, and like even still, like guys like the very first time I met Ed. Mm-hmm. And whooped his ass in the tournament. Wink.
No.
The very first time I met him at that Philly tournament, I didn't talk to him for. Well, I didn't talk to him. I didn't see him for months after that at another tournament. When I finally saw him, it was like we were brothers. Yeah. Like we only met once other. We hung out at the tournament. We after pooled. We talked.
That's awesome.
And like months went by, and we saw each other at another tournament, and it was like, oh, big hugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That's cool, dude.
It's just
that's how it is.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because, I trolled Ed in the beginning. You got all that.
Yeah.
But in his interview, I was at the end of the interview. I wasn't going to tell him, but I was going to put the clip of Khalil flashing him. But I decided not to push my luck with him.
I will say
now we're cool. So
I will say, if Ed's watching this right now, I definitely warned Ed he was going to get flashed in the first round.
Yeah,
I
heard you talking about it with him,
and it was that match specifically was interesting because I decided to corner man for Ed.
Yeah.
So Black Ice, who was my training partner essentially, was corner manning for Khalil. So it was like,
that's awesome.
It was like a battle of the cornermen.
Yeah.
I think we were both in our nuclear arm shirts, and we're like whispering in the other guy's ears. But I'd look over at Ice like fuck, and
and I feel like Ed underestimated the speed of that hit.
What?
And then once
amateur killer?
Yeah, speed. Right. And once he experienced it, that did not happen again.
No, and with
not allow
speed,
that. Yeah.
With speed, and a lot of the guys who might watch this or who talk to me, I've actually said this before in practices. Being an amateur killer, speed one of them. The other one is shoulder press.
Yeah.
If you have speed and a shoulder press,
right,
you will fly through the amateurs because once you get into that locked shoulder press, you're gonna win. You're there. It takes an incredible amount of strength for an amateur to be able to pull someone out of that that locked shoulder press. Which is why
I feel weird in the shoulder press.
Me too. I don't like it.
And I don't know if it's because I'm short and I can't get on top of it as well as I want to.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm in a bad position sometimes.
It's probably because you're short. Because I feel I can't do it unless I'm on a riser.
Gotcha.
Because I have to be able to get behind myself.
Right.
I can't do it unless I'm on.
Yeah, like when I'm just on, in sneakers or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not getting behind it enough, and I feel like I could possibly be in a bad position.
Yeah, which is why I don't.
Yeah.
That's why I don't teach it. It's because it's not a bad position in itself, but it could easily lead to a bad position.
Right, especially if the other guy's a lot stronger than.
Yes. Yeah. And an injury could happen at any moment. It does not take a lot of pressure to do it to happen.
Even when I'm hooking, like if I'm going against someone way stronger than me and I know they have the power to flash me like that,
Yeah.
just let it roll out.
Yeah.
You know, like so that I don't get hurt. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to catch it and
No, I always counter. I mean, a basic tip is generally a good amount of back pressure could
Mhm.
be a great amount of side pressure. Back pressure over on the table,
yeah, because it kind of offsets
it offsets
yeah.
side pressure. So if someone's giving me like on a numeric scale, like a 5 in side pressure, if I give like a 3 or 4 in back pressure, I should be able to negate and stop that side pressure.
Right. Yeah, that makes
Control
sense.
the match from there. If you watch, I know it's going around the Facebook right now. Is an old match between Travis Bajent and Richard Lupkus
Mhm.
back in the UAL days. That was it's a great match, amazing match to watch. If you want to see the difference between side pressure and back pressure, because Rich Lupkus is nothing but just boom, straight sideways, and he's incredibly strong. But seeing how Travis uses back pressure to stop his sideways momentum, you can really kind of pick it apart once you kind of get that idea in your head. That's so awesome. I always go with that. If I know someone's going to hit me with a lot of side pressure, if I don't want to match it or I can't match it, I will literally give everything I got just to go straight back.
Yeah.
And hope that I could stop that side pressure and get him exposed to where he can't use it anymore.
Like I don't feel like my back pressure is that great yet. So a lot of times I'll cheat it by like just lat dragging. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's what I do.
I'm like, well, screw it.
I never back pressure with rise because I have such a short lever.
Right.
If I try to back pressure with rise against someone like, for example, Warren.
Yeah. Right.
I can't. I'll lose.
Yeah.
I'll lose every time. So I have to grip a little bit lower and use my hook.
Right.
And literally just sink it in there like a butcher's hook and just bring them towards me. Right. Bring them. And when we're someone shorter like us, we're doing that, we're bringing them closer to us, closer to our body, and we're bringing them down.
Right. Closer to the objective.
If you arm wrestle someone who has a longer arm, and you're a shorter arm wrestler, if you actually, when you set up on the table, if you don't match their height, if you come down here like where you kind of feel normal and let them come down to you,
right,
they will immediately go, ooh, this is too low. I don't like this. That's where we should be as short arm wrestlers. That's absolutely. You want to get them. You want to get those guys. And when a tip I like to do is it's called baby thumb or little thumb. When you grip somebody, short your thumb. They have to lower their hand. Yeah,
I was doing that last night at practice to Josh Musser.
Yeah. He's a good one to do it against. They either have to lower their arm or dump their hand in order to get a fair grip. Yeah, and someone who's a longer arm wrestler is generally probably a top roller. Yeah. So lowering your rise is a bad thing for a top roller, and then dumping your hand is, unless you're a low hand top roller, is a bad thing for a top roller as well. Yeah. So it plays into our hands even more, and
that's what I attempt to do, but
little tricks.
You run into a guy who's like even Josh, like he's stronger than me. He has way more hand than me, so even. Like I can give him a little bit of trouble here and there when I do that, but he still can beat me. So
yeah,
but
that's where it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. It's your fingers and your wrist.
Yeah, honestly. Absolutely.
Like when we arm wrestled him after that tournament we were at outside. When I was holding him, I was letting him hit me. It was literally all just right here in my hand. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily my arm holding him. It was just my hand controlling his torque. He couldn't drive anymore in the position he wanted to because I wasn't letting his hand move. Right.
Or he'd open himself up and go under you kind of.
Yeah. And that's all because all the pressure is in my fingers, and my fingers are trained to contain it. Right. That just comes with strengthening your fingers. It all comes down to the same thing always. It all comes down to
it really does.
Your hand or fingers being.
That's why I've changed the whole way I train. I'm just like hand control is like the number one thing I'm working on.
Yeah, like I said, I train 5 or 6 days a week. Yeah. And I do the basics. I do like back buys, triceps, chest, and shoulders, and shoulders, and legs, maybe never. But that's my normal gym routine, right?
Yeah.
But every single day, aside from my one rest day or my second rest day, if I have a practice that week, I have 2 days off. I have a rest day and a practice day.
Mhm.
But every single day, no matter what I'm working that day, back buys, none of that matters. It's a whole separate thing. I will work rise and pronation day one, and then I will work cup and supination day 2. Now, those are the 4 movements.
And you just keep rotating that.
Every other day is rise pronation, cup supination, rise pronation, cup supination.
That's good.
And that's my in the gym workouts. And I do stuff that is not in the gym too. Like, I've literally sat on my couch with a bucket full of rice. And
I saw it, and then your dad modified
version.
it. Yeah,
he did the hillbilly version.
Yeah.
But I'll sit on my couch with a bucket full of rice, and I'll just bury my hand and squeeze, and cup and squeeze until the bucket turns into powder. Wow. I've done it a couple times, and it works. And if you're not doing anything, if you're sitting home and you already went to the gym, or if you're whatever, you can't. The muscles in your hand and wrist are so small that they heal very fast.
Yeah.
So unless
you can keep beating on them all week.
Especially if you're doing something like the rice bucket or a stress ball, or just squeezing a hoodie, anything that I guarantee you probably will not hurt yourself doing that.
Right.
If you overload it trying to pronate and you go too heavy,
you could
start lifting with your ego. Yes, you can, but
start trying to do it like schoolboy does or something.
No, yeah, that's what that comes down to. You being a responsible adult and not trying to be cocky,
just being logical.
Just do what you can do. Yeah, push yourself, but don't go to the point where it's clearly you're not working out. You know what I mean? You're not cheating. You're only cheating yourself. But
I don't really do a whole lot of like 1 rep max stuff.
No, I never
kind of stay away from that.
I never, when it comes with the hand, I never do. I'll do I've done the Captain's of Crush grippers.
Yeah.
To see where I'm at. I actually have a friend who's in the medical field who has the digital gauge. So you can actually squeeze. It'll tell you how many pounds of pressure you're squeezing, which is really cool.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. But I've done that before, but I never 1 rep max my pronation, supination, cup. The heaviest I'll go is probably, now for everything's different. For cup, I could go heavier because wrist is a little bit more of a stronger compound unit than the rise is probably the most delicate, right? I never go any more than what I could do for 5 reps with this, and that's even pushing it. I don't like doing that because this you could hurt pretty easily. Your rise, but I think it's called ulnar flexion. I think it's a medical term or something like that. I don't know.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, sounds good, right? But stuff like my cupping, I could go pretty heavy with. I go to 3 rep max.
Yeah.
I'll never go 1 rep max with any of that because it's good to know what it's at, but it's not really proactive.
Right.
If you're trying to strengthen yourself, a 1 rep max, it's a gauge to how strong you are, but you don't want to get caught up doing that every other week. You know what I mean?
Right.
Give it time.
If I was gonna do that, I'd maybe do once a month to see if it goes up or something like that,
Yeah.
Because some of these guys that do it every other day, what is it? That's just, I feel like you're asking for injury.
Yeah, and you're not actually gaining anything. So one of the things I picked up on watching Ryan Bowen's videos when he was doing every day he would be posting a new video by him with his pulley system, right? New trainings, new angles. He mentioned in one of the videos, new vectors. He mentioned in one of the videos, he mentioned this. I think it kind of went over a lot of people's heads, or maybe not many people picked up on it. But he did say, he's like, what you guys see in the videos is the fun stuff, the 1 rep max stuff. What you don't see is me repping this shit for thousands of reps because that's boring. You don't want to put that on a YouTube video.
Right.
He said that, and I don't think a lot of people really understood what he or really
because he gets trolled a lot. He gets trolled a lot, dude. And I don't.
But he's right.
Seems like
it's not about the stuff that you see on YouTube. It's about the work that's being put in that leads up to that.
Yeah.
And so everyone's they're emulating what they see,
right.
and they're just going to their pulley system and they're trying to do 1 rep maxes and like leaving.
Yeah.
And they're done. Like,
And,
what
and
is that?
People knock his workouts, but you
No,
got to give it to him. Like, he's always the underdog, and
No, yeah.
at times he proves everyone wrong.
I'm definitely a supporter in Bowen in blue. I think he's come a very long way in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, what, like 7 years, something like that?
Yeah, and specifically in the last 2 years, he has skyrocketed his strength. And I think and
he's
I
good
like
for the sport,
I'm glad he has like the haters he has now, because he's going to shock a lot of people once WAL gets up and running again.
Yeah.
If they get him in there and they get him a few matches, I'm pretty sure he's going to shock some people, because he is definitely he can pull like a heavyweight, and he could easily make a middleweight class.
Oh yeah. What's your opinion, since we're on the Australian boys, of Lachlan Adair and Todd Zilla match?
Lachlan Adair, Todd Zilla.
Yeah. Controversial situation.
I think right now, as it stands right now, currently, I think Lachlan would win.
Really?
I think so.
I think that is not the popular opinion.
I know.
I
love
lean that way also.
I love them both, but I think if Lachlan gets into his hook, into a deep, deep hook, not if they stay neutral, he'll lose. If he gets into a deep hook, I think he'll be able to control the match and control the side pressure than anywhere else. If he gets into that hook. Right. And Todd Zilla doesn't really fight against the hook.
Right.
He doesn't fight against it. He kind of just goes sideways. He lets his hand go where it goes. You know what I mean? But if Lachlan gets him into a really, really deep locked hook where Lachlan is strong, I think he'll win.
Dude, the numbers that he's putting up when he's training are ridiculous.
Yeah. He's another one. He's another one who's like way better than a lot of people are giving him credit for.
Yeah, he gets trolled. Yeah, and I think we're gonna see when stuff opens back up, like where those guys are at.
Oh yeah, I would love to see Lachlan on the heavyweight circuit on WAL.
That would be awesome.
I would love to see him and Mike Aiello go at it.
Yeah, because like they've had matches before, but Lachlan was not where he is now.
No, yeah, he's definitely way stronger.
Yeah,
I like to see him and Mike go at it because they both have very, very similar styles.
Yeah.
Where Todd Zilla's, he has his own style. He has,
right. Not many people are like the side pressure.
From out of space, like Space Jam style. I don't know what the hell that is, but Lachlan and Mike have a very similar pulling style. So I like to see them keep going at it.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's just too stronger,
Yeah. I like seeing guys go into a hook war,
Oh yeah.
Like his match with Bill Runkle. Oh, that was great.
Yeah. And that's awesome.
I love that stuff.
And Bill's another guy who started with us way back in the day.
He's a beast, dude.
I remember the first time Bill started arm wrestling. It's crazy to see some of these guys now that I remember when they first started. Brandon Elsesser.
Yeah.
I remember when he first started. Dustin Jelliff. I remember when he first started. Zach Lee. I have old matches of me and Zach arm wrestling at 155 pounds.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
I have old clips of me and Dustin Jelliff, and Dustin Jelliff is like what he was a decade ago and what he is now. It's like a different person.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
That's awesome.
How much he's grown, literally. But I have clips of me and Dustin going at it in the amateurs from way back in the day. I have a clip from me and Black Ice in a tournament against each other.
That's crazy.
Way back in the day. It looks like it was filmed on a potato. Yeah.
Dude, most of the people that I've met in arm wrestling, like there's not a whole lot of like I met a ton of people at your 4th of July practice at the Grove. Because that was like my first time going to a big practice.
Yeah.
Other than Philly.
Yeah.
And then Morocco's.
Oh,
that's where I pretty much met everybody that I've met in arm wrestling in person are those two locations.
Yeah, Morocco's was a big I saw both of them, or three. There was three of them recently, right?
He's supposed to have another one in December, but I think I think it's getting canceled because of this COVID thing, or it's going to be a lot smaller scale than normal.
Yeah.
But the two I went to were awesome, dude.
I think we're going to go into a little lull here soon, unfortunately. But
I look at it as like this is a good time to train and get.
This is it. I told you
caught up.
I was saying this is my my 6 months. If you take 6 months, that's from some motivational speech I heard recently. I don't remember who said it or where it's from, but if you take 6 months and shut everybody out, aside from your family, obviously, and just take 6 months and work on yourself, whatever you need to do, right? I guarantee, if you're doing it for arm wrestling purposes, I guarantee you're going to be way stronger.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Way stronger than you would have been otherwise. If you keep that focus.
Yeah.
It's I'm a very big pusher of like inspiration and motivation, right? It can really do a lot of good things.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't use it, right? You have tools, you know, YouTube, motivational videos, and like literally when I'm in the hardcore training mode, I'm watching like highlight videos.
Oh, I did the same thing.
You know, all day long. Devin Lorat, you know, Matt Mask, all the guys. I'm watching highlight videos just to get pumped up, just to keep me motivated.
There's days where like I'm on the couch after a long day of work and I don't feel like working out, and then I watch like a video of Paul Lynn training, and then I'm like, I'm going downstairs. And I'm not sitting here. Fuck this.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's different in what you know inspires them or what gets them going.
Yeah.
But 90% of the time, you see something like that, you're like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm just sitting.
Yeah. I'm sitting here and I could be doing hand control exercises right now.
Yeah. So.
You know?
That's a big thing. It's just getting up and doing it. And like I said, a lot of the exercises, they're boring. Even when you do go and lift. I mean, I've caught myself doing it. Right, I'm doing back and biceps, and I work out. When I work out till complete muscle failure. So like I do pyramid sets on my normal workout. So I start light, go really really heavy, and work my way back down light. And then at the very end of my workout, I usually what I call is I run the rack, which is the old like Arnold Schwarzenegger technique.
Right.
So I'll do all my bicep workouts and curls or whatever I want to do, and then I'll literally do standing dumbbell curls until failure, starting with a 50-pound dumbbell and ending with a 5-pound dumbbell. I will.
So you're sitting there with fives, like struggling.
Yeah. And when you're in the gym, that's when all the girls walk in. It's when you're like, oh, you have a 5-pound dumbbell and you can't even pick it up, right? But that's how you know, like that's what I want to do that. So now I know I've done as much as I can without hurting myself. I've done as much as I can. My arms are sufficiently tore up, and they will definitely recover stronger.
Absolutely.
According to science. As long as
you just shredded them. You know?
As long as I drink a milkshake or a protein shake or have a steak or some bacon later, I will have some protein and my muscles will recover stronger for sure. And I do that with everything. I do it with triceps, back. I do it with shoulders. I've caught myself on days where I'm doing biceps, and it takes me a long time to do that kind of workout. Right, it takes me about 2 hours just on back and biceps, maybe 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And after all that's done, I'm like, well, last thing I want to do now is cupping, and supination shit. So I have caught myself where I don't want to do it, but I'm you know, you gotta. If you want to be a good arm wrestler, that's something you need to do. Arm wrestling is not a curling competition, right? It's hand strength. It used to be called wrist wrestling for a reason.
Yeah.
You know?
Like all it takes is me seeing someone else doing arm wrestling specific exercises, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
Because it's such an easy thing.
Yeah.
You know, it can get boring when you're doing thousands of reps, but it's such an easy thing. It's like, instead of just sitting here, I could be doing that. And if I see someone else doing it, it motivates me and I got to go do it.
Yeah. And I think that's also one of the reasons why we have so many little tools and gadgets for hand strength. I mean, a lot of them are very good, like the Cuppinator and the top roll eliminator. Like those ones at their core are they genuinely help those movements. But there's a lot of different little tools in between that they help,
And they just give you a little bit of a different
I think
pressure or something.
The main job that those handles do for all of us is it makes it a little bit more interesting, so it's not so bland and boring.
Yeah.
Right? Because before, when I first started arm wrestling, we didn't have cupinators, we didn't have that stuff. We just used. I still actually have. I never bought fat grips. I never have owned fat grips. I have a pool noodle that I cut and sliced down the middle. And I kind of just slipped it on my dumbbells. Like, we didn't have that stuff. We didn't have any of that. When we wanted to work our hands, we just wrapped a towel around a dumbbell and then gripped the towel. You know what I mean? It's
like, I went out and bought everything that I could put my hands on.
The stuff that we have now.
Once you use them, though, you realize you probably only need a few of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you get all these fancy things, and then you're like, I don't, like, this one does the same thing. It just looks different.
Yep.
I don't really need that, but
if you notice, like Devin Lorrat's cup, his little cupinator, the way he has it set up, he could spool it multiple different ways to hit different angles.
Right.
And that goes to show right there. You don't really need all the tools, but they're there. It's good that we have them because it kind of keeps you interested in doing the workouts, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just I mean, when I was an amateur, the best I had was, okay, let me just do wrist curls until I can't move my hands, right? Or like I still do it to this day. For my fingers, I'll pick up a 45-pound dumbbell and I'll do flat hand isometric holds like this, all the weight on my fingers.
Yeah. That's hard too. Like,
because
that is of the way me and you are with small hands.
Yep.
That's not easy, dude.
No, and that's what I do the most of, because we have small hands. We have to have strong fingers. They have to be strong. Otherwise, we're not going nowhere. We're going to keep our hands going to keep folding.
Yep. That's true.
So, I mean, from shorthand arm wrestler to shorthand arm wrestler, your biggest strength is going to be right here. Just your fingers, your finger closing ability, your clamp.
Yeah.
Right? And then followed by your cup.
Yep.
Right. But it all starts in the fingers.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it seems like a small thing, but it makes all the difference in the world. It
does.
And I didn't start noticing any progression. Well, a little bit. Like, when your arm gets stronger, you do show a little bit, but against certain guys, I didn't show any progression until I started like all out doing hand control exercises. Yeah.
And again, when you're also gauging yourself against the other amateurs, the other arm wrestlers, you also have to keep in mind that they're progressing as well.
Too.
Yeah. So
for the longest time, I gauged myself off of Dave Shell, because Dave has that constant pressure.
Yeah.
And for a long time, he didn't change how he arm wrestles.
Mm-hmm.
He always was doing the same thing. So anytime I wanted to know if my right was getting stronger, I would go with Dave, and then he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I can tell."
Yeah.
Like, he's a good guy to gauge it off of.
Yeah, he is. He's great. I love arm wrestling him. I love pulling with him. He's my burnout session at the end of practice, every practice usually.
I do the same thing, dude. I'll do that stamina hold with him.
And I do it all the time.
He times it for like 2 minutes, and then we go 2 minutes, and then I try to pin him. And by the end of that, dude, my arm is just done.
Yeah,
after full practice.
I think over time it comes, but like I could arm wrestle almost all night. Like when I get to a point where I can't feel my arm, I'll take like 5 minutes and I'll get a drink and I'll hang out and I'll talk, and then I'll come back to the table and I feel good for one more match, and then I got to take another 5 minutes and I feel good for another match.
Right.
I'm not gonna out stamina Dave though. I can't do that.
I know, dude. Like, a lot of guys think they can, and then they get to 2 minutes and you can see their arm start shaking.
Yeah.
And Dave's just still like,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
And he went with Josh Musser for 20 minutes, dude.
Woo, wow.
20 minutes. And Josh got him in a position where he had him in a press with his shoulder. So Josh was like not using any energy.
Yeah.
But still, Dave went 20 minutes with him in that position. I'm like, man.
That's crazy.
For a 69-year-old man, dude.
Yeah, that is crazy. He's
impressive.
He's strong. He's a strong guy. He's got the heart.
He does. He definitely does. That's cool, dude. There's so many good guys in arm wrestling that it's hard to talk about them all, because there's just everyone I meet is just the next awesome dude that I met, Except for Chuck Ryder.
Oh yeah, that guy.
No, I always got to throw that in there because he wants to kill me anyway. So
Oh yeah, I know.
might as well give him a good reason.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
He won't watch this anyway.
Yeah, probably not.
But thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this with me.
Yeah,
I think you gave a lot of good information, and that's what I'm trying to do is just stuff for beginners, you know?
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it's simple. Don't make it overcomplicated. It's simple. Everyone tries to overcomplicate it, and then it gets too much, and then they kind of forget. They skip steps because they don't. Maybe they don't realize they skip steps, but they skip steps subconsciously sometimes because they got too much information in their head.
Yeah.
But
or they're just
four commandments.
Tunnel vision, you know?
4 commandments. That's all you need to worry about is the 4 commandments.
That's great advice.
Rise, pronation, cup, supination. Strengthen those 4 things, and you'll have a good base. You can't do anything until you have a good base.
I hope everyone out there is listening to this because it's a fact.
It is a fact, yes.
That's the first thing my buddy Corey told me. He's like, he actually made a video of him doing an exercise for each one.
Yeah.
Sent it to me. He was like, just do this all the time. And it obviously is working for him because he kicked ass in Atlantic City.
I did it with one of the amateurs I was kind of helping out through Messenger, Steve Demmett, Megatron, right?
Megatron.
Yeah, he had me helping him out on Messenger, and I sent him same thing. I sent him clips. We would FaceTime each other. I would grab my dumbbell and I would show him what he needs to do. And every day I would message him and say, hey, did you do your hand workout today? And if he said no, I said, fucking do it right now and send me a video so I know you did it. Because if you want my help, then I'm gonna make sure you're doing it. You gotta put the work in, you know.
Right.
I come from I'm not a personal trainer, but I've had my certification in personal training. I'm a very good motivator, I think. So I'm very pushy, right? So if I tell you, hey, you gotta work out your hand, I want to see you work out your hand. Like you gotta show me. If you want to get better, I'm gonna make you get better and make sure you
start messaging me all the time. Get me motivated.
Yeah. But yeah. So you gotta know exactly what you need to do, and you gotta do it. It's very simple.
Yeah. It is simple because it's such a simple movement for each exercise.
It is.
And you have to make it repetitive.
Yeah. Learning how to use those strengths when you have that strength is a lot easier than being, wait, do what? I can't do that because you're not strong enough. You can't do it. So it doesn't make sense that you
the only way to practice doing those things until you get the strength is with someone weaker than you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I want to try something, I got to do it with a good teacher that will let you do what you're trying to do.
Yes.
And still give you a little resistance so it feels natural.
Yeah.
But that's hard to find, you know, that you don't always have that.
Very hard to find. Yes, it is very hard to find someone who will give up what because you're not programmed to do that, right? Yeah. We're not programmed to lose those positions. So it's hard to find someone who can relinquish their hand in order to help you find yours, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, Josh will do that with me. Josh Vinacore.
Yeah. Again, he's a prime example. Yeah. He's a really good teacher.
Yeah.
Very good teacher.
Yeah, and he's very detail oriented. So
yes.
You know, but look who his like mentors are, like Jim Bryan and Steve Walker.
Jim Bryan is a
whole crew of guys.
Jim Bryan is a well of knowledge.
Oh yeah.
He is a well of knowledge. Him and Christopher Myers. I spent Christopher Myers is they're in the same boat. They're both ex-world champions. Christopher Myers I met in Atlantic City for the first time after the qualifier, and I was on the boardwalk on a bar table, stand-up bar table, because we didn't have any arm wrestling tables. All the arm wrestling tables left. We thought someone had one, and they all left. So
actually, I heard about this.
Yeah. We had that was my very first TikTok was actually that night. It was me and Jacob Belleville. We had
Dave Shell was all pissed off because he was looking for some after pulling, and he left, and everybody pulled after he left.
Sean Boom Hancock and Denise Waddles and all the other guys, all the those guys, Paul Lynn, Black Ice, me, my dad, a bunch of amateurs. So we were all at this outside boardwalk bar waiting for someone with a table to come because we thought someone with a table was coming, and no one showed up. And we're all so bummed out because we're all already here to arm wrestle. We're all waiting on after pool, and there's no after pool.
Oh, that's
and
rough.
Finally, I looked at Jacob, and I was like, you know what, Jacob, fuck it. I dragged this stand up table. It was a stand up bar table. It was about the right height, but it was small. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck it, Jacob, let's go. Come on. I put my arm on the table, and we went old school style, right? And it worked pretty well. And literally immediately after that, everyone else started pulling other tables out, and we had like 8 tables going. It was awesome. And
awesome.
It
makeshift practice.
At first, it was a terrible thing because I was so pissed. Everyone was pissed that we couldn't arm wrestle.
Yeah.
But actually, in the end, it ended up being like a better thing. It was cool to see Paul Lynn and Sean Hancock, these big pros, like these legend guys.
Yeah.
Just on bar tables, just like old school arm wrestling. And I had my strap on my belt, so I'm like, oh, who needs a strap? Pull my strap off. People were strapping up, and it worked just like a real practice, and it was great. And we were there. Yeah. I was there with Paul Lynn and Chris Myers until I want to say 3:00 in the morning, outside on the boardwalk, arm wrestling on the table. And Chris Myers was giving me these lectures on tips in the straps that it made me feel like a first year puller. It was like awesome. And that I haven't felt like that in a long time. And it was awesome. It was awesome.
Knowledge. Yeah.
To learn that kind of stuff. And then again, more recently, that tournament we had, the recent tournament we had with Jim Bryant was there. I hung out with him a lot afterwards, and he was giving me some advice on thumb placement and hand placement. And some of it was stuff that I knew, but I didn't know had terminologies or like was tactics, right? And he gave me a quick, brief demonstration. And again, it was like, open my eyes. I'm like, wow, I know a lot, but I know nothing.
Should go to some of his practices.
I'm trying to. I want to really bad.
Let me know, because Josh is always trying to get me to go to him.
Yeah, once all this stuff dies down. I
haven't had time yet, but
exactly same. Once all this stuff dies down with everyone dying or whatever, I'm going to try to plan I was already messaging Jim Bryant a few times trying to get down there, so I'll let you know. I'll probably come up with I'll bring Black Ice with me usually. Every practice I go to, I bring him usually.
Dude, that pull between him and Jim Bryant after that tournament was so funny. That was hilarious. Yeah.
Black Ice.
Oh my God, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was a good night. That was a good time.
That was a good night. That was great.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'll wrap it up because we both got kids, and I know how crazy it gets.
Yeah, awesome.
So even though my daughter's probably she's already in bed. So. But my wife has been concerned about COVID and like practices and stuff. And I told her, I'm like, listen, if there was an outbreak of COVID in the arm wrestling community, everyone would know immediately.
Yeah, everyone would have it.
So like, I'm not really that concerned about it.
No.
But sometimes it's better to be safe,
Yeah, that's true.
But, all right, dude, I'll talk to you soon, and thanks again, man.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. This one was better than Ed's.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm good. I'm glad. Probably better than Jacob's too.
I'm just kidding, Ed. Yeah, Jake. Yeah. Now he's gonna super match you now, dude.
That's right.
Careful. All right, I'll catch you later, man. Take care.
All right, man. Be good.
Thanks.
Take care.